everyone. Welcome to Camp Akeela's information session today. And just like we do at camp, we want to give you a little preview of what you can expect for the next 45 minutes or so. So we're just going to take a minute to introduce ourselves first. We're super glad you're here, and we want to know who's going to be with you for the next little bit. We're going to take you through a slideshow of what a typical day at Camp Akeela looks like. We want you to be able to see pictures of camp in action. We also want to explain what some of the activities are. So hopefully you'll get a sense of how the day is organized, but also come to understand a little bit more about what we do while we're at camp together. And then lastly, we want to be here to answer any questions you have. So we are live, and we'll be able to see any questions that you want to type in while we're talking. So hopefully you'll take advantage of that, and we look forward to answering any questions you have.
Great. So my name is Dave. Before I introduce myself, though, I want to tell a little quick aside about our technology. This is only our second time trying this technology. We had one that went very successfully a few months ago, but as this is, technology is sometimes unpredictable. If for some reason something happens, we apologize. If it doesn't work as smoothly as we want it to, we're very sorry. But obviously, it's great that, it's great if we can be in your living rooms, but we can't be, so we're going to be in your living rooms virtually today. And this is a little out of our comfort zone. We usually like to be in the same room as people, being able to connect with people, personally speaking, not through screens. So if you'd like to ask any questions today, please send them to us. We'd love to be in person to answer them, but we'll do them over the computer. If you have any questions, you can ask them over the YouTube Live. If you're signed in on YouTube with your Gmail or YouTube account, you can also email Kevin at cakeela.com with any of your other questions.
Yeah, so if you don't have Gmail or a YouTube account, just email Kevin at campakeela.com. Kevin is sitting right over there.
Speaking of Kevin.
And he will hand them to us and we'll answer them live. Speaking of Kevin, let's introduce the four of us here today. So you can meet us, and then we'll get on with our presentation.
All right, I'm going to sneak in here. Oh, hello. Short camera today here, folks. Hi, everyone. My name is Kevin. I'm one of the assistant directors here at Akeela. I spend my summers up in Vermont, working with Debbie and Eric on our Vermont summer camp. And I also spend a lot of my time doing a lot of staffing, program development, some camper recruitment as well, and also a good amount of time working with Beyond Akeela, which we won't really talk too much about today, but certainly happy to answer any questions that anyone has about that program. That's our oldest teen program for 11th and 12th graders. It's an awesome program, actually on site at Akeela, Wisconsin, which we'll talk a little bit more about in the session today. But a little bit more about me. I started in Akeela in 2009 seasonally and spent about 4 seasonal summers before I started year-round in 2013. I had a former life as an accountant, but the call to work at Akeela was too strong after a few seasonal summers there. I really fell in love with the community, the campers, and just everything about the program. And so I've been here since 2013 in the fall, moved all the way from California out to the East Coast, and have now kind of supplanted myself out here with the year-round team. So it's nice to meet you all, and we got some good feedback already. The technology is working well.
Nice.
Great. Excellent.
Right. Thanks, Kev.
Awesome. And so I'll take the next stab at introducing myself. I am Debbie, one of the directors here, and we're coming to you today from our office in Philadelphia, just outside the city. And I actually grew up down the street from where we're sitting right now. So I grew up here in Philadelphia, and I grew up going to an all-girls camp in Maryland, which was really a transformative part of my life. I decided to go to school at the University of Rochester in upstate New York, where I studied psychology as an undergrad and actually stayed on for a 5th year to get my master's degree in school counseling. And then after that final summer of school in Rochester, I went to a summer camp on Cape Cod called Wingate Kirkland, where I met Eric. And then I moved to Boston and was a school counselor for 3 years in Belmont, Massachusetts. After a few years in Boston, I decided to pursue further graduate work, and we moved to New York so I could earn my doctorate in clinical psychology. And the summer of 2008, that was a big year for me. I defended my doctoral thesis. We were 6 months pregnant with our first daughter, and we opened Camp Akeela. So those were memorable years.
Yeah, and my name is Eric. I'm Debbie's husband and co-director here at Camp Akeela. I grew up in Westchester County, New York, just outside New York City. And I also grew up going to summer camp. Mine was in New Hampshire. I fell in love with it right away, and I've been at overnight camp ever since for 30 plus years. This is what I love to do most of my life. Professionally, I got a degree in mathematics from Haverford College and went on to graduate school for education from Harvard because camp made me love working with kids, and I thought teaching was the way to do that. And then I thought even harder about it and realized that camp was really where it was for me. So I joined camp as a year-round profession over 15 years ago. We've been doing that ever since. And really found out along the way that I was most drawn to a certain kind of camper that was struggling a little bit to fit in socially, didn't really thrive in a super competitive and sort of high-paced environment. And as Debbie mentioned, was lucky enough along the way to meet her and find my partner in this endeavor.
Great. So as promised from earlier, I'm Dave, and I'll introduce myself now. My wife Katie and I are the on-site directors for our camp in Wisconsin. I'm originally from Vermont and started at Camp Akeela in Vermont in 2010. I found camp by Googling summer camp jobs in New England when I should have been doing my homework freshman year in college. And I got the job and haven't really looked back ever since. I came on full-time this past fall to sort of head up everything with Camp Akeela, Wisconsin. I have a degree in education from Franciscan University, and for the last 3 years I've taught at a boarding school in Rhode Island for kids with learning disabilities. I also coached basketball there and worked in the dorm program in Narragansett, Rhode Island. My wife Katie also has worked there in the past. She started at Camp Akeela in 2011, and she got her master's degree from the University of Cincinnati and is now a board-certified behavior analyst and working in Philadelphia doing that. We just had our first daughter 11 weeks ago, yesterday, Adelaide, and she's exactly, and she's awesome and beautiful and perfect, and parenting is really easy. And I know that's not going to always be the case, but I like to brag about it whenever I can. We've had a great time so far. So we will be spending our summer, the first half of our summer in Wisconsin, and then joining the rest of the crew in Vermont for second session in Vermont.
Awesome. Thanks,
Wonderful.
Dave.
So that's who we are. We're about to start our slideshow, but just before we do, I wanted to mention quickly that there's a lot of stuff that we could talk about with regards to camp that we're not going to get to today. If you haven't already had the chance to speak with us directly, please call us anytime at 866-680-4744. Check out our website, campakeela.com. Just a really quick history of where Akeela came from. We mentioned it sort of from a personal standpoint, but I think it's important to sort of just mention that through all of our camp experiences, we really profoundly believe in camp as a way to change kids' lives and to teach 21st century skills and build lifelong friendships and all these amazing things. And that really only happens when a camper is the right fit for the camp that he or she is at. And we sort of discovered in our life in camping that there was a certain population of campers who were sort of in between, sort of doing really well in traditional camps and doing really well in special needs camps. They were not in need of as much support as a special needs environment, but again, weren't really thriving and connecting in a camp that wasn't focusing on their success socially and on some sort of programmatic things that would be a better fit for who they are as people. So that's who Akeela's for. It's that gray area kid who's awesome and smart and independent and fun and funny and eager to make friends and all that stuff. That's how we designed our camp from the ground up. So that's what you're about to see now. And we will start with a typical day at Camp Akeela.
Awesome. So we are going to show you a series of pictures of a typical day. We are about to go into our 10th summer, and it's just been such an amazing 10 years for us, both personally and professionally. And we're super proud to be a part of it and to share a little bit of it with you today. So like we said, we're going to take you through a typical day by looking at lots of pictures. The schedule really applies to both Vermont and Wisconsin, and we'll point out where the photos might apply more to one than the other. Of course, these are just snapshots of brief moments in time. It's really hard to capture what's more important, which are the feelings that we all feel for each other after even just a short 2 or 3 week session. So we'll try and explain that as best we can as we go through. So here we are. It's morning. It's 7:30 in the morning. It's time to wake up. Everyone in camp gets up around the same time, although our teenagers might be a little bit slower to wake up, and that's fine. Counselors use alarm clocks or watches to wake themselves up, and then they gently wake up the campers. We don't have loudspeakers or bugles. We all get up and brush our teeth and get ready for breakfast. Our Vermont cabins were newly renovated and are really comfortable with bathrooms and private toilets and private showers in every cabin. The Wisconsin dorms, which you'll see a picture of here, are beautiful. Campers are going to live in doubles, but really have a cabin group, the same as Vermont, so that they feel connected to a larger group outside of their roommate. So that's a little bit of a difference. Their bathrooms on the halls also very nice and updated. So in Vermont, and also in terms of the Wisconsin groupings, there's 6 to 9 campers with 3 or 4 counselors living in each cabin. It's a great ratio. It means that there's a group of amazing staff spending a lot of personal attention with each of our campers. There's always someone there to help. There's always adult ears listening out, making sure that people are treating each other with kindness and respect. And in Vermont, campers have their own area, single beds you see here in this photo. There are no bunk beds except for counselors. So every camper has his or her own area with a cubby, set of shelves, and we provide 2 Tupperware boxes to put under the bed for things like underwear and socks that tend to get lost on shelves. There's a job wheel with a schedule and calendars, lots of visuals as you can see in this cabin here. Our campers do best when they know what to expect. They don't tend to like surprises, so we make sure that they know, from the menu to the schedule that's coming up, we want to make sure they know what to expect. And that all happens in the cabins.
So after our wake-up time, we transition to breakfast at 8 o'clock every morning. This is really the first time our community comes together, all together, and our campers sit at a table with their bunkmates and with their counselors, and they'll sit with this group at their each meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and they're with this group a lot. So this is really an opportunity for the bunk groups to get to know each other really, really well, and for your campers to make friends with other kids their age and kids that they're going to be spending a lot of time with throughout the session. Meals are always a great time to have some conversation practice and conversation starters. Our staff do a really good job of engaging our campers in conversation during meals. We have been really lucky in the past at Akeela to have some really, really great camp food. Both locations are great. Here on the left in the photo is our dining hall in Vermont, and the photo on the right is a photo of our dining hall, the cafeteria in Wisconsin. Both have lots of healthy, kid-friendly options. For example, at breakfast, every breakfast, there's cereal, bagels, yogurt, fruit, peanut butter and jelly, toast, things like that. Very continental options at every breakfast. So if you're a picky eater or you're on a special diet, you'll always find something that you love to eat, and you'll be happy and comfortable and energized for your day. And then we also always have a hot breakfast option as well, like eggs or pancakes, something along those lines as well.
All right. After breakfast, everybody heads back to their dorm or to their cabin, and it's time for cabin cleanup. And for us, this is really a part of living in a community and teaching campers that it's important to chip in and do their part. Bunkmates really become like your family group, so it's sort of having chores to sort of do your part to be part of the community and chip in and make sure that where you live is a comfortable, clean, and organized place, which helps the day go more smoothly. Each camper will have responsibility for cleaning his or her own area, making the bed, but then also have a daily task that's assigned on a rotating basis. So taking out the trash or sweeping the hall, things like that. And then one thing we do a little bit differently than lots of camps is we take a few moments just before the main part of the program day begins to have a quick check-in with campers. We call it a bunk huddle. And it's a chance to look ahead at the day's schedule, make sure everybody knows what to expect, what's expected of them, to set some goals. And it's really important that our campers know that their counselors who are really involved in how they're doing at camp and who know them really well are going to check in with them on a regular basis and make sure that they're getting what they want out of the camp experience.
Great. Now we come to the fun stuff, the activity periods. You'll see in our schedule that there are 2 in the morning and 3 in the afternoon. 3 of those activity periods are with your bunkmates, and that group really becomes like a family. So you spend a majority of your day with those individuals. And then 2 are also individual choice activities, which we call specialty periods. And specialties are more of an opportunity for you to spend time doing an activity that you want to really focus on or get better at. And that you get to do with kids who are older and younger, boys and girls, and you get to choose them for a week at a time at camp. We hope that having choice helps campers feel a little bit more independent, and that spending time with campers from other bunks enables them to have a larger friendship circle. So that's a great opportunity for our campers. And you know, Akeela is really all about community and friendship and building self-confidence and feeling like we all belong. And we accomplish all of those things through a top-notch program. So we don't sacrifice one for the other. So just to focus on this slide for a moment, you'll see that one of the categories of activities that we offer are the arts. And this is obviously an arts and crafts activity. These campers are working on ceramics. We have a really beautiful ceramics studio. And our arts programs are taught by professional teachers and students who are really studying art, visual arts, and creative arts. We also have rocketry, wood shop, drawing, painting, crafts. Did I say woodworking? I think I did. Those are really popular areas in addition to cooking and drama as well.
So another category of activities that we do at camp are our aquatics. So everyone at camp has instructional swim 4 to 5 days a week. And even though it's a swim lesson, we still make sure to incorporate a lot of fun during our swim lessons. If you notice here, the photo on the left is an actual photo of a swim lesson from camp in Vermont, and those guys seem to be having a pretty good time with their pool noodles and their swim instructor there in the foreground. On the first day of swimming, each camper is going to have the chance to show their swim instructors how well they swim so that we can make sure that they're in a swim group with kids who are swimming at a similar level to them. We follow the Red Cross swimming levels, and all of our swim instructors are American Red Cross swim instructors and lifeguards as well. So you'll leave camp, as an even better swimmer than when you got there, and we really believe that swimming is a lifelong skill that is really important. So I think summer camp's a great place to work on that even more. And then outside of swimming in the pool, we also have our beautiful lake in Vermont. It's called Miller Pond, and it's crystal clear and it's warm and has a nice sandy bottom. So we do some of our swimming lessons in the lake. We also do our fishing, sailing, kayaking, stand-up paddleboarding, and all those fun activities on the lake as well. And our Wisconsin campers, although we don't have a lake right on campus, we will have the opportunity to visit a lake on one of our trip days. So that'll be an option for campers in Wisconsin to select to do some lake swimming and some other waterfront activities in Wisconsin.
We are going to pause our day because we have a question that has come in
Nice.
via the internet. We have a question about our staff. That's a great question. It's a really important one. Again, all these slides about activities and facilities are great, but really probably the most important thing we do next to bringing the right group of campers together is to hire a staff that that is really going to do this work on a moment-to-moment basis in a way that's really going to make a positive difference in kids' lives. So that's the majority of our focus in the off season, and we're lucky in a way because I think that our staff is very self-selective because we're a very particular kind of camp and we're very clear about who we are and what kind of campers we work with. We're able to reach out to staff members primarily through directors of programs, undergraduate and graduate programs in psychology and special education and speech and language and PT and OT and all that kind of stuff, so that our counselors, while they're still on the young side of life, which makes them totally cool and able to really connect with the kids in a special way, they also have some real life experience with this population, and most importantly, this job for them is a part of their career path and fits in well with their professional goals. So they bring to it an incredible level of passion for our kids and a love for them and a real commitment to doing the job well. So we're very lucky. We are very proud of our staff, and we think you will be too. So that was a little aside, a question. Thank you for that question. We'll get back to our day in a life. We now have had 2 hour-long activities in the morning, and for about 45 minutes before lunch, we have a free period. This is for campers to choose really in the moment on that day what they'd like to do with this time. There's council supervision throughout, of course, but it's essentially camper choice time. So we'll have some organized activities. The jumping pill in Vermont is always open. We'll have games, kickball, or on certain days the pool might be open or the art studio may be open. And there are lots of camper run activities. We have a wonderful tradition of campers announcing, okay, tomorrow I'm going to have a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament at this picnic bench. Everyone come and join me. So that's a wonderful time to do those kinds of things. And then again, a little bit unlike other camps, if campers just need some downtime, this is a great time of day to find it. So they don't have to be at an organized, active activity. It's wonderful to just find a friend, play some chess, write a letter home, listen to music. That's all okay at free time at Camp Akeela.
Great. So after we have some free time, we are back at the dining hall for lunch. And on the left is our cafeteria in Wisconsin. On the right, we're in Vermont. And as with breakfast, if campers don't like the main meal, they are welcome to have lots of other options. We always have plain pasta, hot dogs, and hamburgers and veggie burgers, and peanut butter and jelly at every lunch and dinner, and a really healthy salad bar with kid-friendly options on that salad bar besides just veggies. So meals are a nice time to not only have great food, but also to socialize and hang out with your bunkmates. And if you take medicine at camp, our nurses bring medicine to campers at meals. They're always in camp to take care of us and make sure that we're at our best physically. So those nurses distribute medication during meals.
You know, while we're on lunch, Deb,
Yes.
we had a few questions come in. One of them is about
Oh.
food, so maybe you can talk a little bit about whether we encourage campers to eat out of their comfort zone. I love the way that's phrased.
Interesting, yeah. That's a great question. So we make sure that we are encouraging campers to make healthy choices, and there's a lot of positive peer pressure that goes on when you're sitting at a dining room table with your bunkmates, who are people that you've come to respect, especially those cool counselors that Eric talked about before. And we also should mention that we don't make food a fight. So we don't fight with kids about food. We don't tell them you have to have X before you can have Y. We have one dessert a day. Everyone can have that one dessert, whether they've eaten their green veggies that day or not. We just feel for 3.5 weeks or 2 weeks, we don't want to make a battle over food for lots of different reasons. But we do encourage kids to be healthy. We encourage them to drink water. We don't serve sugary drinks. We don't have any soda in camp. The only sugary drink we have is chocolate milk, and campers are allowed to have one at a meal. So we do try and encourage healthy decisions, but we're not going to force children to eat something they don't like.
And I think in a bigger sense, that I love the expression "eat out of their comfort zones." I think across the board, camp is really about pushing kids out of their comfort zone a little. Not so hard that we're going to lose their trust or they're going to feel forced to do things that they're not comfortable with. But that's really why we send our kids away to camp, is to really push those boundaries a little bit. And food is definitely one of those categories that we can see growth in lots of campers.
Absolutely. Do we want to answer all of these at once? Or?
Yeah, we can talk about some of this other stuff.
Okay.
Sure. So one of the other questions that we got live is, how do you match campers and bunks? So at both of our locations, Debbie works with most of the camper intake in Vermont, and I do a lot of the Wisconsin placements. And we just work to find the best possible fit for your camper. So we take into consideration, obviously, campers are grouped by age, and boys and girls are separated. But then even further than that, we'd like to make sure that campers who have certain interests or are really interested in, let's say that one group is really sporty, we'll try to put the more sporty campers together. And then if there's maybe a less sporty cabin, or a group of kids that sort of likes doing things like board games and Yu-Gi-Oh! And card games and things like that, we'll try our best to put them together as well. But really the real answer to that is that we separate our campers by grade and age. So that's what it really all boils down to, is grade and age.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Anything else there?
No, we'll get to more questions later.
Great.
Thank you for those.
So at this point in the day, a lot of our campers have experienced a lot of high-paced activities, and they've gone through a lot of things so far. So we think that it's a great time to have our rest hour. So rest hour is for all campers, no matter their age. And sometimes this gets confused for nap time. This really isn't a nap time. This is just a time for our campers to recharge for the rest of the day. So the first half of rest hour is spent quietly on the camper's own bed, and then the second half of rest hour, the campers are allowed to play quietly with other boys and girls in their bunk groups. So the first half is a great time to do things like writing letters home, reading a book silently, listening to their music silently, and then the second half campers can get up and play quiet games together or read together and things like that. So we really want to make sure this is a focus of our day, because we want to make sure our campers feel rested and happy and energized for the rest of the afternoon. In these pictures up here, you can see again, there are signs up on the walls, and those are there to really help our campers remember exactly what to bring to certain activities and what to expect for the rest of the day. So they'll always feel prepared and ready for the next transition. So a lot of our signs up on the walls are things to bring to certain activities. So for example, it might say the ropes course. If you're going to the ropes course, make sure you have your closed-toed shoes, your water bottle, and some sunscreen. And that way campers are reminded before they head out the door, so they don't have to keep coming back and grabbing things that they've forgotten.
Excellent. All right. So after some free time, some lunch, and some rest time, we're back to activities. I'm going to talk a little bit about athletics at camp. And I chuckled a little bit when Dave described the one cabin that was really sporty and the other cabin that was really into more like games and cards and things. And just to be really honest, we have more kids in the latter category than the former. But again, it's a significant amount of time that kids can choose their own activities. So we certainly do get kids who are interested in sports. But philosophically speaking, we're a camp that does not do a lot of sports and really doesn't focus on the competitive team nature of them. When we play sports, it's an opportunity for kids to feel more confident, to learn the rules, to go back to gym class feeling like they've had real success in those areas. But relative to other camps, we just don't do a lot of sports stuff. Our kids tend to gravitate much more towards the individual things like archery and martial arts and golf and tennis. That tends to be a little bit more popular at our camp. So here we have a picture of archery. We do that at both of our sites. Sorry, Kev. We also do tennis and martial arts at both camps, but those are just wonderful opportunities for kids to feel achievement and to succeed at things that you don't get to do every day in real life. And our goal, again, is to let them walk away feeling really proud, and when they are part of a team, to be a great teammate, to learn how to win and lose gracefully. Those are all really important life skills.
All right, I keep getting all the meals. Let's see. So after our afternoon activity, we like to regroup on the main lawn. It's one of several times that campers get an opportunity to hang out with friends in other cabins. So this is just a really nice time to have some informal socializing that's less structured than it would be in an activity period or at meals. So that's a really nice opportunity during the day to hang out with friends. And of course, we know that food keeps us happy and healthy, and so we have snack in the afternoon to keep us energized, and try to serve some snacks that are going to keep people going for the rest of the day. All right.
Must be question time.
Yeah, we had 2 other questions come in. So I'll go ahead and talk about how we deal with bunk conflicts, which is a great question. Well, we hope that we're not eliminating conflicts because it would be impossible to do that. But we do see a decrease in that because of our staff to camper ratio. So our staff are really there along the way if they start to see conflict building or campers having a hard time navigating a particular relationship, to really get in before the conflict gets to be too large. I think it's much easier to manage conflicts when they're smaller, obviously. But of course, Eric always says to campers, you're not going to be best friends with the 7 other guys in your bunk or the 7 other girls in your bunk. That would be unreasonable to sort of have that expectations. But we do expect everyone to be respectful and kind to one another. So when campers are struggling, we do, basic mediation. Counselors are involved, and then we have our senior staff who are our head counselors who are really supervising a small group of children and counselors who can step in as another outside adult voice to mediate a relationship, to talk to kids about how are you going to work this out? What are some tools that we can use here that are hopefully life-building skills that we all use when we're dealing with other people. So we try and teach those skills in the moment. But again, of course, we try and minimize those conflicts, and then when they arise, to do some mediation so that kids have skills that they can use to build forward. And we've seen, some of our campers who've had the biggest conflicts often become best friends after they learn how to work through and learn that they have more in common than they have differences. So that's how we address that.
Yeah. Another question was about why we picked Wisconsin as a second site. And I guess, a partial answer to that is why a second site at all. We have been maxed out on our facility in Vermont for a few years now, and just really believe in what we're doing, and we think we're making a real difference in the lives of whole families. And so to keep saying we're full was painful for us, and we felt like in a different location with a different length of time and frankly a different price point, we could just reach more families. So we sort of looked around the country at where the sort of camp going populations were. The Midwest has another rich tradition, like New England, of camping in the Wisconsin and Illinois and Michigan areas. We have colleagues out there who run wonderful camps and who were able to really connect us with that community out there. So we just liked it. None of us are from Wisconsin, Kevin's fiance is, but other than that, we just thought it was an area that was rich in camp lovers, but deficient in the Camp Akeela. So it's our next phase is to head out there, and it's been great. We've met with a wonderful reception out there. Dave and Kevin have met a lot of professionals and families in and around the Chicago area who feel like there isn't something like that out there yet. So here we are.
Awesome.
Yeah. So after our afternoon snack time, we head to our fourth activity period. So this would be these photos here are from an activity category that we call our outdoor adventure program. Here you see in the top sort of left photo, you see campers who built a shelter in one of our nature and wilderness survival activities. And then in the picture down to the right, that's a photo of some campers enjoying our farm that we have at our Vermont location. Our farm is stocked with, we borrow animals from a local farmer every year. We've had a big, gigantic pig for the last 3 years named Bruno, who everybody seems to really love, and other animals as well. And in both Vermont and Wisconsin, we have programs that utilize vegetable and herb gardens. In Vermont, this is offered in conjunction with our farm program, where campers will learn about and take care of and spend time with the animals and the garden. And then in Wisconsin, we have a garden that's run year-round by the university, and the university is graciously allowing us to help them maintain and keep up the garden for the summer. So we're going to be doing some community service and giving back to the university by offering a gardening activity in Wisconsin as well. Another part of our outdoor adventure program in Vermont, all campers will experience our low and high ropes course. This has lots of team building, low ropes activities, plus a zip line, a climbing wall, and other newer high ropes course elements. And in Wisconsin, one of our optional trips that you can take is to a fantastic, vast high adventure ropes course right down the road from campus. And so that's an option if campers want a little bit of adventure and want to test out some of the high ropes course activities. They can sign up for that activity in Wisconsin. And we really focus on achieving things that you didn't think were possible. I personally last year, for the first time in 7 years, went on the zip line, and I felt incredibly proud of myself for making it up the tree and going down the zip line for the first time in 7 years. And we have campers who do not think climbing that high and launching off the tree on the zip line is possible, and they do it, and it's their highlight of their summer, and they feel like it's just such something to be proud of at Akeela.
Great. So we've now shown you just some sample activities from these sort of general areas of arts and aquatics and athletics and outdoor adventure. A few of the things that we didn't get a chance to mention, we just want to show you a couple of quick slides here. Lots of opportunities to explore a creative side, music, drama. For those who are interested, we do a play in each site. For those kids who want to sign up to be either on stage or help out behind the scenes. And then also we do some very popular activities like cooking. And on the top right here is a photo from LARPing, which is live action role playing, which is hard to describe but incredibly easy to fall in love with. Lots of running around, creating characters and worlds, and having epic battles with very safe foam pool noodles made into sword shapes. Also, we do community service as an integral part of both programs.
Great. Do you want to pause for a question or?
Yeah,
Sure.
That would be great. So we got a great question in. I don't think we've ever been asked this before, but the question was, how often do we check in with each individual camper? This parent asked because her son often falls beneath the radar, she put it. And that's one of the reasons why I think campers are choosing to come to Akeela, because they often fall beneath the radar. I think a lot of our campers have had experiences either at other camps or in school where they're friendly with the adults, and the adults pay attention to them, but not necessarily making connections with kids. Again, that's why we have the ratio that we do with 8 children at most. Our oldest teens have 9, but with 8 children and 4 counselors in a cabin, it means that the counselors can give a lot of individual attention. Those morning huddles that Eric described, I think, originally in the morning after breakfast, and then you'll see we also have one in the evening. It's an opportunity for every individual to check in with the rest of the group. So at the end of the day, we ask things like, what was your high and low of the day? You might do that as a family at home. So we do that at camp so that each camper's voice gets heard. That way counselors know who they need to go back and check in with later that evening. We also have instilled in the past couple of years what we call catch-up sessions. And they're a chance for the counselors pick, 2 or 3 campers to have individual meetings with and ask some questions that we jot notes down so that we can share them with parents or just with the rest of the staff to make sure that campers do have that opportunity to have the one-on-one check-ins. But again, because of the small size of our community of the 120 kids, we really know every camper pretty well, and certainly the counselors who are responsible for the 8 boys in their cabin know them very well and spend time individually with campers on a pretty regular basis. Do you guys have anything to add?
I was going to talk about communication too. So a lot of the times parents tell me that they're worried about not hearing from their camper for 3.5 weeks or the 2 weeks in Wisconsin. And we really try to make it a top priority for us to be in contact with every parent, at least on a weekly basis. So you'll get a check-in, and this might be covered later on in the slideshow, I can't remember, but you'll get a weekly check-in phone call from your camper's head counselor. That'll just sort of give you an update on how they're doing, and obviously if anything is emergent, then we'll be in touch with you as needed. But you're going to be very informed as to how your camper is doing during their time at camp. And Debbie, Eric, and myself and Katie and Kevin, we're all available by phone and email as well if you ever need anything. So communication is paramount for us as well.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we recognize that the campers who need things are not necessarily expressed. So it's not only the ones who say that they need help are the ones who need help. So again, I think flying under the radar is a great way to think about it. Some of our campers just don't express their discomfort, or particularly, parents are concerned that in a new environment, when it's not them, are we really going to know that that things aren't going the right way? And again, I think that's an important part of our staff training and our commitment. We're not just sort of looking for bunks that are sort of okay. If no one's screaming and crying, then camp's going great. We're really making it a conscious effort. I mean, our counselors do binders every night with their head counselors to communicate about each camper and what they're seeing and what they're hearing, what they're not seeing and what they're not hearing, and so we can ask the right questions. And again, as Dave says, use parents as resources. So we'll know if your child is a quiet camper because everything's great, good. If he's quiet and it doesn't necessarily mean everything's great, we'll know that, and you'll help us know what questions to ask and sort of how to navigate it.
Great, awesome.
Good question.
All right, well, we're at, I think, one of most of our favorite times of day, which is dinner, yes, but really evening meeting. This is an opportunity for the entire community, whether we're in Wisconsin or Vermont, to be together and to share successes and achievements from the day. So, Eric and I, or Dave and Katie, and Kevin often is up there with us, sit in front of the community and make quick announcements. But really the best part of the evening is when campers and counselors get to recognize the achievement of other people in the community. So if you shot your first bullseye in archery today, a counselor might stand up, might ask you to stand up and might say, I want to recognize Janie for coming out to archery and being patient and persistent because it paid off when she shot her first bullseye today. I am so proud of her. And we would all applaud. And it's just a really special feeling to know that everyone in the community is sharing in your achievement and your pride. The other part of what happens at evening meeting is that we read from our suggestion box. So this is a mailbox that's in the front and center of camp. And anyone during the day can put in a suggestion. And we get a lot of suggestions about things like extra ice cream and funny things like that. But we also get some really wonderful suggestions about how to make our community better and sort of more responsive to what the campers or counselors of that summer really want. We don't want to wait a whole year to go by to make changes that will make our campers feel happier at camp. We want to do it right away and be responsive. So it's really nice to have your voice heard and to know that you're important to us. And one of the ways we do that is through our suggestion box.
And right after evening meeting, we transition into evening activity every night. And this is another time when the entire community, some nights the entire community does an activity together, other nights the activities are age specific. But this is just a fun all-camp activity to do at the end of every day. This photo here is obviously from one of our weekly campfires where we sing fun songs and counselors do funny skits. And we also have quieter songs that are played on guitar and other sort of folk music instruments. with many of our staff are really talented and love to play at campfires. And you know, a lot of these activities are where staff and campers each get to be silly or goofy. Like, you know, as you see here, was clearly some sort of goofy evening activity where campers got to dress up and they built a little character and things like that. So other fun, silly activities we've done in the past for evening activities are scavenger hunts around camp, activities where counselors dress up in crazy costumes, and you know, full camp fun activities like that as a way to be together one time before the end of every day. Evening activities are a huge part of helping you feel like a member of the sort of greater community at large at Camp Akeela.
Hello. All right, we're doing questions now. We're doing it.
Nice.
All right, we had two great questions. One of them was, do we have a certain time of day when we teach social skills, or is it integrated throughout the experience, throughout the program? And the other question is,
age demographic.
What is the age demographic look like in terms of age breakdown? That's the easier one, so let's do that one first.
Go ahead.
I mean, they're both easy, but that's a numbers question. I can answer that one. We have campers spread from finishing 3rd grade through finishing 10th on our 2 main campuses. But we have more than most camps. We have a lot of campers who do start a little bit later. So it's not like everyone starts in 3rd or 4th grade and then it's just like a whole bunch of returners. Lots of parents, when they're thinking about that transition to middle school or from middle school to high school, or as Beyond Akeela addresses, you know, from high school into life beyond, that's when they're sort of discovering Akeela. So I would say we're top heavy. We have typically 1 cabin per grade level on the younger end, and then when it gets to be sort of 8th, 9th, 10th grade, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th grade, we have 1.5 to sort of 2.5 cabins per grade level at the upper end. Those are sort of boys' numbers. Girls' numbers, we do have more boys than girls, about twice as many. So it's about 2/3 boys, 1/3 girls. And on girls' side, it tends to be more evenly split, about a cabin per grade or level or 2.
Great. And then, in terms of teaching social skills, it's the latter. So we really believe that it's more effective for our campers to be working on social skills throughout the day. Camp provides lots and lots of opportunities for us to work on those skills. You know, of course, you think of things like meals and bedtime and morning time when we have those meetings, but also, you know, rowing a boat takes communication, and working on an art project takes compromise and things like that. So we're working on social skills really every moment of the day, and our staff are up at training with us at least 10 days before the kids come. Some come up earlier for various trainings. So we really train our staff to do just that, and there are lots of ways that we practice that with them so that when the kids come, they're really prepared to find those moments in the day when they can work on social skills. And then there are a few moments like those morning huddles and evening huddles when we can focus on one particular social skill. Those are brief. We really want our campers to feel like they're at camp, having a great time, making friends, and less like they're in therapy. And so we're trying to create the best of both worlds.
All right, we're almost done with our day. So we talked about evening activity recently. Now it's time for the end of the day. We have one more snack before bedtime. That's a little bit of a heartier snack to make sure we satisfy that hunger before bed. And then again, as Debbie just mentioned, that's again a chance to check in with each cabin group and each camper. Sometimes we do highs and lows. In some way reflect on the day and the experience that the campers had. So counselors are in tune with how everybody's doing. And again, looking forward to the following day so everybody goes to bed and wakes up feeling like they know what's coming up for them and what's expected. There is time between sort of like lights out and sleep time. We want kids to be able to adapt as much of their home routine into camp as possible. So we call it like flashlight time. Kids can read, they can write letters, listen to music, whatever makes them feel most comfortable to settle down for the night. They'll keep those routines from home.
All right. So that's the typical day. And then we have a few days during the week where campers do different things to break it up a little bit. And one day a week, every bunk in camp goes out on a fun hike outside of camp. There's some beautiful trails, pretty close by to camp in New Hampshire and Vermont. And it's a chance to challenge yourself and achieve something that you might not have thought you could do. So campers travel in groups with counselors, and they hike a trail, and then they eat lunch at the top. And I think their favorite part is coming home. They get to stop at an ice cream shop on the way home as well, just to make it a little more fun. But along the trails, camper learn about plant life and get a chance. I don't know what's wrong with my mouth. Get a chance to experience the local area in a fun way and do something different. So that's really fun.
We had another great question come in to Kevin about our electronics policy and handheld devices and toys that campers may really want to bring with them to camp. We have a pretty strict electronics policy. Oftentimes parents' favorite part of camp, campers' maybe least favorite part of camp. We have a no electronics policy outside of small music players that don't have screens or Wi-Fi capability, and like first generation e-readers that also don't have Wi-Fi capability. It doesn't really matter in Vermont because they wouldn't be able to use them anyway because there's no Wi-Fi or cell phone service or anything. And in Wisconsin there is, but we still ask for the same electronics policy. This is mostly because we really find that that's breaking free of the sort of digital habits that they have at home and giving campers an opportunity to connect with people face to face rather than through a screen and without the distraction of having a screen on them at all times. And as far as the toys that campers may be attached to at home, things like teddy bears or stuffed animals, things like that are typically fine. And we ask for maybe you only limit those to like one or two. But other toys, larger toys, we ask to leave those at home as well. It's just safer. Oftentimes, lots of things happen at camp, and we don't want anything to break, a favorite toy or anything like that to break or get lost or damaged. So as a general policy, we also ask for that to be left at home.
We should also mention that we have board games that we provide in every cabin and on the halls, card games, Uno, age-appropriate games that can get kids more involved in being with other kids rather than on an individual game. So we often tell campers that they can use our games and that there's just not a whole lot of room, whether you're in a dorm room or in a cabin with other kids.
Right. So one other sort of optional, outside of the regular camp schedule thing that we want to chat about are our optional outdoor adventure trips. At both of our Vermont and Wisconsin locations, we offer an optional overnight hiking and camping trip where campers will head out of camp in the afternoon, head to a local state park in one of our respective states and do a little bit of hiking, a little bit of nature exploration. They will set up camp, set up their tents, sleep in sleeping bags, cook their dinner over the open flames and cook hot dogs and roast marshmallows and s'mores and have a classic campfire there as well. And then at our Vermont location, we also have an optional biking trip. That's what you see here in this photo. It's on a beautiful and very flat local rail trail. And that's only in Vermont for right now. We're hoping to add a biking trip to Wisconsin in future years. In Vermont, we also offer a one-day canoeing trip on the Connecticut River, as you see on the left here, as well as a horseback riding program. And that's a program that the campers leave camp, it's out of camp, and they do that twice a week. And that's been a really, really successful and really popular program for a lot of our campers. If that's something that you're interested in, it tends to fill up pretty quickly. So let us know as soon as you can. That would be great. That's a little bit about our optional trips.
Yeah, and lastly, we have special events. And before I talk about that, I just want to say, after today, you'll feel like you know a little bit about Kevin and Debbie and Eric and Dave and hopefully Katie. And we want you to know that we are out in camp all day, every day. This is what we love to do. We do this because we really enjoy being with campers. So as much as possible, we're not going to answer your phone calls because we're going to be out playing with your kids. So that's an important thing to know. But in terms of special events, Debbie mentioned the one day a week that's a trip or hike day. And then another day of the week is a special event day. So this is an opportunity to, again, break up the schedule, do something really different and fun. Sometimes it's like things like water day, water slides, theme days. We've done everything from Harry Potter to Hunger Games, but also community service. We do a big thing on the 4th of July, lots of additional choice periods, celebrating international cultures, all different kinds of stuff that we have learned about camp over the last 30 plus years. So that's a special day, and that brings us to the end of a typical day and a typical week.
Yeah. So we're thrilled that you stuck around and joined us for our slideshow today. Are there any more questions, Kev? No. Okay, good. Well, I'm glad we were able to answer the questions that came in. They were really insightful, so we appreciate that. And like I said in the beginning, I think it's really hard to capture the feeling that we all get when we're at camp in those photos. Hopefully you saw the beauty of camp. But I think we've all felt really surprised in a wonderful way about how life-changing this camp experience can be for so many kids and counselors. And that we keep hearing over and over again that kids are waiting for their session of camp to start because they can't wait to be back with their friends. I just got a photo of a prom date that happened between two of our campers. Someone from New York went up to Massachusetts to take one of our female campers to the prom, and they sent us a photo, their Akeela prom picture, so that was really wonderful. And we get emails like that all the time, just hearing about how our campers are continuing to be connected throughout the year, and that's really why we do what we do, to make sure that they're feeling like they have connections with others. So we, again, hope that this was helpful for you. We do still have a few spots left in both of our locations. It is very, very close to the start of camp. We are moving up to Vermont in a few days. But we would encourage you to be in touch with us as soon as possible if there's a chance that you might be interested in this summer. We would be happy to chat with you about that, and of course for future summers as well. So thank you so much for joining us today, and feel free to call us again if you'd like to chat with us.
I'm getting word from our producer.
Oh, yeah?
We have one more question.
Oh,
You're going to get a lot of question from the outside here.
Okay.
Can you please speak briefly about family camp?
Oh,
yes.
yeah, great question.
We have one spot left in family camp, so we can talk about that. Yeah.
Oh boy, briefly is the hard part there. Family camp, I think the important pieces of it are this. It's a little bit different from camp. In terms of sort of the outcomes that we're promising, it's different because I think a big piece of what we can do at camp comes from not only the length of the session, but also that we are taking kids into a new environment away from parents. In a positive, wonderful way, and teaching them resilience and grit and problem solving and all that stuff. And that's harder to do when it's a family unit. That said, it's incredible. So it's an amazing combination of a family vacation and camp. We do our thing. We have camp activities, some for kids only, some for adults and kids together. And I think it's just been this incredible bonding experience for this community within the larger Akeela community, for parents to just be somewhere where they really have an implicit commonality with the other adults there. They sort of know, what, to some extent, what life has been like for each other, and there's no judgment, and there's so much sharing and warmth and problem solving that goes on together. That's been huge. So lots of positives. Program, you can look on the website and sort of see what it's all about. But
it's definitely not, we're not built to be a family camp, so it's not like everyone has a romantic little family cabin. You're living in the bunks, which are beautiful and lovely, but I always tell parents they have to be ready for that. And it's great. We love it. I think it's some of our favorite, for some of us, it's our favorite week of the summer. It's really a great opportunity to be together. So.
Yeah. And also, the kids, it's not a huge number of kids, but the connections that have come from family camp, I think have been, really as strong as from typical camp. And that's true for siblings and identified kids and all combinations therewith. And, that's been a nice piece of it too. The families stay in touch throughout the year. That Facebook group is really like their go-to place for everything, celebrations of successes and
struggles,
bad days and everything in between. So yeah, it's been great.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, again, thank you so much for joining us. Our number is 866-680-4744. Feel free to call us and let us know if you have any questions or want to follow up with us in any way. We hope you have a great day, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks.
Take care. Bye.